I'm just going to tell you, for those of you who are new and who weren't here last week, just a brief explanation about what a poetry slam is. It's poetry reading. It's just there's this little competitive edge thrown in to make it exciting, and for people who love that type of thing, it just pulls them right in. By then, it's too late to leave because they're in the poetry reading. Poetry slams work like this. Each poet has to read original poems only. You can read from paper. In the big city, they don't allow you to read from paper, but here we can read from paper. Also, in the national poetry slams, which are held nationally, annually around the country, a poet has 3 minutes to read a poem. But, when I was in the slams myself, my best poem was 4 minutes long, and so I'm changing it now for those people who were in the same situation. What else? We have 5 judges who will hold up a scorecard for a 0, which is for a poem that never should have been written in the first place, to a 10, which is a poem that you want to hear immediately again upon hearing it the first time. We won't do that, but that's what a 10 is worth. Unfortunately, the 0 and the 10 mean nothing because we throw out the highest and lowest scores, and then we add up the scores in the middle. No bribing of the judges, please. We don't allow it. Our scorekeeper is my wonderful husband, John LeClaire. Let's hear a round of applause for him. Let's see. Poems can be in any style or subject. You can't use props, no musical instruments or recorded music, and no costumes. No longer than 4 minutes. Let's see. If you go over 4 minutes, I'll let you go for a little while until I feel so moved to get up and drag you off the stage kicking and screaming. And usually there's there's the first half of the poetry slam, and then a feature poet who we have invited, who will be performing this evening, and I'll tell you about that a little later. And then a second half of it, and the poetry slam always begins with the sacrificial goat, the person who opens the readings, because no one ever wants to go first. And so I'm not going to put anyone through that, so instead I'll just read a really short poem of mine called Writer's Block, because we all have it. I can't seem to find the beat right now, and I keep waiting for the drummer to hit my cue. It's a lost feeling, like an hour early for a date, like being an hour early for a date, and there's nothing you can do but wait. Seems like wasted time to me. I try to write words in my mind to later speak with my mouth, but my brain says nothing to my hand. So we have 5 people slamming tonight, and 5 judges, what that means, but and so I'm just going to draw a name out of the hat, and that poet will come up and read their first poem. We'll probably go into at least 3 rounds, so if you're reading, I'm hoping you have at least more than 2 or 3 poems. And if you have a long poem, suggest you cut it in half and read the first half, and come back for the second round and read the second half of your poem. And that would apply to the first person out of the hat, which is Ted Phelps. Please welcome Ted.
The poem is called Get Away, Part 1. There comes the day in every office worker's decades-long career she gets infected with the thought of travel and taking a vacation. Paid or not, in debt or not, friend or whatever, to be out there and not here. Long enough that her here drains out of her like toxins on a fast. Maybe the thought comes as she passes that same old travel shop 2 blocks from the building where she works. Passes by a drainy February slushing afternoon. After a late lunch, alone on the little alley, not in a rush because the boss is out of town. Stops to look at the poster taped to the window. A model lying by the sea, breasts and chin turned to the sun. A man running towards her under a feast of clouds. Slush from a passing car tells her to get going, get back to that office inbox stuffed with paper. She goes, then slows, stops, turns back to the shop. She pushes the bell jingling door. Inside, the aroma of coffee and the must of obligation. There, a woman shifting stacks of paper pinches out a, "Can I help you?" Is there a brochure for that place? There in the window. Nah, but it's nice, right? He keeps that up all year long. He loves the girl. Look on the table by the door. Brochure for the same idea. He's got a special on through May. Give me your number. He'll call you after lunch.
Thank you, Ted. I just realized something. Your score will have to be after your second piece, so you get one score. Otherwise, you get 2 scores and guarantee a win, but not going to happen. So let's see. We got a score? No, save it for the next round. Also, just so that you know, there are three places of what's the word I'm looking for? First, second, and third place. Second and third place both get a little treat bag with some great things in it. I happen to have one of the largest collections of poetry books made by individual poets, chapbooks. And so last month, and I'll continue to do this until I run out of them, but I've been giving away part of this collection because I just have too many and I have doubles of some things. And I was realizing today when I was putting together these bags for the winners that I didn't realize I had so many, and I didn't realize I had so many great poets. So I'm trying to share that with those of you who love poetry. And next up is the great Kitty Kiefer.
In praise of dreams, dreamed poem. My pains are non-existent. I speak with those long dead. I am always well satisfied, well fed, never having to pee. The key is to hold the way into waking, moving slowly, never cold, never stumbling. When I arrive downstairs, the teapot has water. I stand as it heats. The French press is clean. I never have to dump it off the snowy walk. I stand in fleece slippers and so soft shirt and sweatpants. Doesn't matter what I look like. The clothes are always well matched. The colors tonally blended. The whistle of the kettle, the dark morning. I turn on the dimmed overhead, measure the coffee into the glass beaker, pour the water in after. Everything is still perfect, discreet, at ease and fluent. The dream is on, and I am still in it. There is a crust of coffee grounds at the top of the beaker. I pick up a fork perfectly placed and break and stir the coffee down into the water. I press. No coffee squirts from the pour spout, and the pour spout isn't broken. I dump the hot water from my mug, filter the hot coffee through a tea strainer, and add milk. A few steps to the chair facing the slider. Dawn is breaking, light slipping in over the snow, making shadows of the tree trunks next. I pick up my notebook and my pen. The dream lives, and the pen touches clean white paper, and words are on the lines. Don't look back. Step into the next thought and words. Don't pause, even to breathe. Keep traction in the moment. Write about the contrast of the shadows as they grow. The color of the light changes in the seconds as they pass. But stay present. The small yellow expanse of pink and the black trunks darken against the white of the snow. The colors of the dawn do not impact the colors of the ground. The white goes flat, pink of clouds is seen through the black stem and twig of winter oak. The dog whines, the dream snaps. I wake to responsibility and let her out. I make her breakfast, kibble and oil. I touch the yodel, it's still warm from last night, squeak the door to open it, stir the coals to the front. I go out to the porch, the dog comes in. I grab some kindling and 2 logs from the woodpile. I put 1 log in the stove at an edge, leaving 7 coals to the side. Kindling on the coals, some bark, and the second piece of wood. Shut the door with a squeak, open the draft wide. The dog smiles at me, her tail thumps the floor, sitting for her breakfast. Dream to poem to now.
Pretty kitty, when you come back, see how close I am to the mic? That way everyone can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We don't want to miss a word. I also didn't tell you that the first place winner has a cash prize and a goodie bag. So that's something to look forward to. Oh yeah, I need Kitty's scores. Judges, hold their cards up high so I can see them. You ready, John? Yeah. I have an 8. I have a 6. I have an 8. I have a 7. Is there one more person? Oh, and I have a 5. And just so you know, we do throw out the lowest and highest scores. That shouldn't prevent you from giving someone a 10 if you want to, because we don't throw them. I don't know what we would do if everybody gave someone a 10. That wouldn't seem fair. So I guess we just have to throw out one of those 10s. Yes. So, and now, Kristen Grippo, one of my favorites.
I have boots on. 10 to the flame. Dear Spirit, please help me clear it. Mired in apathy, in deep resistance to who I might be, much bubbling up, much flowing, the potential for growing looms large, but I refuse to take charge, instead submit to inaction, deny my life's passion, afraid of it, not even sure what it is. Not quite true. Yes, I do. I know it deep in my bones, scared to hone my craft, to really let it flow, to know this is my offering. This is not even up to me. Dear Mother, please help. You say that I'll find it within if I can get past the constant chitter, the din, and now even a buzz, a ringing hum. Am I tuning in or am I just numb? Mom, it's hard to remember. At times I don't try. When I do have the time and the space, I just hide. I get caught in these loops and I know it's not me. I continue to spin, feel powerless, weak. I'm seeking something deep and true. There's patience involved. I'm afraid of that too. But I made it here now. Steady flame by my side. Those times it went out, I nearly died, tied my existence to the extinguished light. Many failed matches later, I figured I might just give up, go to bed, lay blame on faulty sticks, a shitty wick, and besides, I'm tired, but wired to keep going till the message comes through. The last match ignited when I didn't hold back, first a spark, then a flame. How I know I'm on the right track, though it feels like this whole poem might be kind of whack. I made it out of the darkness, I brought back the light. The message is clear, you'll be all right, as long as you're strong. Remember your power, hang in tight. Know that your work is to tend to the flame. And if it goes out, light it again.
Great. Can I have the scores for her? You ready, John? Yes. I have a 6. I have an 8. I have a 9. I have a 7. And another 9. Wow. Great. Okay. Let's see. This is the steward is here. The steward. Let's hear it for the steward.
What is a poetry slam? To say what it is to say what it's not. What it's not is a lot of what I heard on the spot. Cards flying, scores ablaze, far too high, it's a part of the craze. A night to remember summed up in a year, contestants captivated by anxiety and fear, speaking to the heavens as if they were near. A night to remember, one that mustn't be held dear. To say what it is to say a lot. To say what it's not, I've given a shot. What it is oftentimes cannot be said. It's like a shot in the dark to the back of the head. Words flow, people know, tempers rise, egos demise. Battles play out from here to the far sides. There's a place to be known and a place to be heard. You state your law despite what returns. Battles play out until they are won, remembering it's all part of the fun. So here's to the fun on this new day. An orange is an orange, that's all I will say. Snowflakes on the windowsill, some of the words we need to kill. Zeros abound across the board until we come up with the rules of the Lord. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth to bring out the ruthlessness. Give it to me like never before. Put me in my place behind a closed door. A closet per se is the only way, because I'm not going back to a cell any day. Tried and true is what I do. I speak my mind and words flow through, reminding you what you came to do. This is all but here for you, in the form of a poetry slam you knew. Next time you're up here on this stage, take that shot in the dark with some rage, because the butterfly effect is all but gone. And so too is the one-man sing-along.
Let's Stewart. Judges. I've got an 8, a 7, another 7, another 7, and another 8. Jedediah.
That's a good start. That's a good start because it's been a heck of a week leading to here, guys. So I'm thankful to be here. Thank you. Yeah. I started crying again today. The kind of cry that comes from a place deep inside. That sense of pain that begins as a dull ache. A feeling so subtle, you might wonder what it is, except that you've always known. It has been with you for as long as memory allows. A companion nestled beneath your wing, yet seared in the depths behind your breast. Awoken from the slumber of a short rest, it begins its journey along the many well-beaten paths. Deep in your gut starts a delicate queasy. Upward it goes till it's that ball in your throat. Then the constriction, and in a moment where once there was oxygen-rich blood that restored your cells and your thoughts, now there is only emotion. It seizes your mind in its grasp, paralyzes all possibility of movement, seals any chance of escape, and so here you are again. For years, I would find myself in this place, yet the ducts of my eyes remained dry. But this time, the pressure was too great. A stuttered quiver gave way to a steady tremble. And just before the pending eruption, a sour bubble rose through my throat and thrust my mouth open. Out came a moan in a deep bellowed tone. It was a sound I didn't know. Perhaps a voice curdled, spoiled from so much time inside, and just as my breath finished its whine, I felt a snap. No longer held back, the tears began their roll. Not in the form of a drip or even the stream along a mountain's lean. No, its force came with a violence. I recoiled and uncoiled in spastic fits, nearly unable to breathe. The water coursed down my face till I lay in a pool. Balls of barbed wire in my stomach, the twist of a searing hot knife in my chest. And ever since that day, the pain no longer sits deeply. It lies just below the skin. If you look closely at my eyes, you can see it there, just waiting for a day like this.
Thank you, everybody. Judges. 7. Another 7. A 5. A 6. Did it get you already? How many 7s do you have?
2.
Who else had a 7? Just raise your hand. And a third 7. Thanks. Okay, so, and now we'll go to round 2. And we start with Kristen Grippo. May 13.
When it all came pouring out of me, it came pouring. That's the only way, I think. It's the reason why our mothers and grandmothers suffered nervous breakdowns. It came pouring out of them, too. With a deluge comes upheaval. Tumult and chaos are to be expected. But fluidity is essential. Movement is paramount. And when it all came out of me, countless bits and stuck together pieces came loose. Unglued, unfettered, they clashed and split apart, sending previously forgotten notions to the surface, to the light and air to breathe, or dissipate, or explode. But there's always the subsiding. There has to be. That's the nature of nature. When it all came pouring out of me, it turned out that the most important things held strong were bolted and strapped down. The detritus filtered out, left things clean and new. My foremothers tell me there's a good chance it'll happen again. There's no avoiding things such as these. But if I'm smart, which I am, I'll remember the subsiding. When it all comes pouring out of me, I'll remember the lucidity of the other side.
This good? That good? Judges? We have a 9. We have a second 9. We have 2 7s. And we have an 8. Is that it? Did I get everybody? I think so. Fine. Okay. And then I was rethinking Ted's situation, because this is an unusual thing to split a poem in half because it's a long poem. So we have to treat it as 2 poems. In that case, you should have received a score at the beginning, because as we've gone into the second round, that means everyone has 2 rounds of scoring, and you would only have 1. So,
I won't have one after, so scores won't matter so much.
you want what?
I won't have a third one, so scores won't matter in my case, so we can
Okay.
let that.
All right, great. Thank you.
They can vote for this one for some.
Okay.
Thank you, Bobby.
Great. And let's bring Jedediah back.
Yikes. I think I'm still recovering from that last thing you said. Yeah, so I'm going to keep in the same sort of thing because that's how I'm feeling. Thank you. eyes that melt the frozen landscape. This land that has surrounded my being, pressed against my skin with a freeze from the deepest bluest ice ever imagined. A cold so profound that any progress, the slightest movement, only heightens the pain. Yet, the only course of survival is to lean toward the winds and raise one foot just ahead of the other. Then, from the darkness, a faint glow. At first, it appears as perhaps a mirage, then, with another glance, becomes a beacon. As her eyes focus on my corpse within the dark satin night, her irises glow, reflecting a light that pierces my blackened heart. The golden glow she projects begins the magic that comes from home. Though hesitant and unsure, my pulse rises. The blood, at first slow like honey, begins to flow to already forgotten regions. Though I know it is safer to thaw slowly, there is suddenly heat. As we move closer, a trickle of water forms on my cheek. The ice encrusted in my lashes, of my eyes, in my beard and my brow, begins a spring melt. When I arrive, I lay before her, the certainty of the moment lost on me. When she begins to shift, I feel the fear of another cold wind. But she turns with the grace that only beauty knows, nestles her form into my arms. Our embrace brings a heat that transforms the landscape. The vapors of melt bring a tropical heat, thick and wet. A bed of warm green grass is below our now bare feet. Before me, her body unfurls, revealing the flowers of passion I'd once known. Our movements within those moments brought forth new life. And from the darkness comes creation.
Thank you, Jedediah. Judges. 7, 7, 7, 7, 9. Hey, Ted, we're dying to hear part 2. Let's hear it for Ted Phelps.
Previously on Get Away, give me a number. He'll call me after lunch. 3 weeks later, on the beach, breast and chin turned to the sun, thinking how she told the boss and the downward fist that spilled his coffee, of her husband who would not leave the springtime sails coming up like dandelions, of the train to the plane and the taxis, of the first-time hotel and the missing towels and the bowing man who brought them later, of the bacon and the breakfast cold against the scrambled eggs in the pale blue English china plate, leaching all of this from her like salted water from her body to the sand hot beneath her, melting like the ices in the tilting margarita. the swell of gulls, and the hushing, slushing of waves. Gulls and waves, weaving with the calls of children, running to and in and out the water. And her high tide, her long, long high tide, finally going out. And outward washes all the words, even the words that would have told her that a boy will walk by soon and fill her drink.
So now let's have scores for Ted as for his whole poem. So think of it that way. Judges. Wow. A 6, an 8, a 9, a 9, and a 9. Is that it? Did I get everybody? That's everybody? Right? Okay. And to end the second round, the great Kitty Kiefer again. She's going to talk very close to this microphone.
You will speak into the microphone this
There you
time.
go.
Okay. All right, so maybe that's better. It certainly sounds better to me. I hadn't been to the theater for a couple of years. I met some friends to see the Taster in Lenox. I had not read anything about the play or the playwright or the actors. We were seated in what might be called the first balcony. It was a row of seat numbers on a long, very comfortable upholstered bench. There were 3 groups of us, and the staff of the ticket office must have been anticipating a crowd, as all 11 of us were seated exactly next to each other, and there were no other people on the other benches. I was seated next to a person who probably weighed over 300 pounds, and she was inclined to occupy more than the space of her seat number. She kept leaning on me, then looking at me, expecting something. She smelled. I did not budge. My seat was very comfortable, and I saw no reason to lean on my friends who were seated on the right, and they were on their numbers as well. The larger lady then pushed on her friends to her left, and one of them moved up and back behind her. The jostling having been completed, I sat looking at the set. We were all early enough for the performance that I was able to read the entire playbill, all of it, before the lights dimmed. I read about the playwright and how she was resident in Lenox. I read about the very small cast and the multiple roles they would take on during this set. I read all the ads for wonderful dining, summer rentals, tent rentals, and veterinary services for your animals, large and small. This theater was performed by a Shakespeare summer group. Perhaps any troupe with Shakespeare in its name would have 15th or 16th century props on the stage. There was no curtain. There was also a rough canopy bed in the center of the room that was the stage. It was probably a double bed. It was tall enough to warrant a footstool for people to get in and out of it. It was dark all around the bed. To the right of the bed was a wooden ladder, rungs worn with the friction of many feet, going up almost 2 stories to a beautiful window which opened away from the audience and had a nice broad windowsill. There was a dim light coming in the opened window. So I paid attention to the window, not knowing what else might come in. There in front of the ladder was what appeared to be a flat table, like what would be a desk in my living room in a hard chair. To the left of the bed was a round trestle table with wings spread and 3 more hard chairs. The corners of the room were framed and limited by 2 enormous corner cupboards with collections of jars and a few books. The seats were very comfortable, with plenty of room now that the large lady had lightened up. I was sitting directly on my seat number, as in a jet for a long flight. I was ready. I read the playbill again Cast of 5, story was going to extend from an ancient Basque poem and the modern translation of it. In the program, the playwright talked about how as a child she had tasted possibly spoiled cake with her father and hypothecated with him about the royal tasters from centuries ago. Plot revealed.
I was wrong. There is one more poet after this. Judges? Discuss amongst yourselves. Okay, I got a 6, a 6, a 7, a 6, and another 7 in the front row. And the last poet of this round is the Steward.
This one's called a reclamation story. Doctor was what we called it then, a boy, a girl, and a childhood friend, lying in a wagon, private parts to bear, so young with so little scare. The examination went so well for a boy and girl who show and tell. Some years had passed, and so that ass that lit ablaze a newly teamed craze, to stand pants down with a hand on the crown, breast as round as the nose of a circus clown. Middle school had found me, man, showed me what I never planned, the prerequisites for a one-night stand. Some years had passed, and so did that ass. I found myself in a circle at last. One by one, she called us in. We did what we did, and we did it again. She was known as a high school friend. Now time has passed, and a bend's been made. There's much to come since the high school parade. Reclamation, masturbation, cityscapes, and good vibration. A picture's painted 1,000 ways. The one I gave you is a part of the craze. Remember to never judge a book by its cover, because more genuine than that is the undercover lover. One thing to you as you go about your days, love shines through in a variety of ways, even amidst the filth and the craze.
Okay, scores? A 7, an 8, a 6, another 7, and another 6. And now we're going to have a really great treat. Let me tell you a little bit about my friend who's our feature this evening. Michael is a great American actor and has been seen in such great films as The Great Santini and Caddyshack and too many others to mention. And one of my favorite characters of all time is Jackie's boyfriend on Roseanne. But there's so many other great roles that he's played, and he happens to be a great poet as well. And we're really pleased to have him. So please welcome Michael O'Keefe.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and so happy to see that poetry is still alive. And I always take an opportunity like this when I see my friends, Bobby, John, and Karen, to remind myself and to remind them how much I love them and how happy I am to see that we've been friends for over 40 years. Karen was 4 when I met her. And it's always great just to reconnect and rekindle and fall right back into those grooves. I'm going to read a sequence of poems that I wrote about my relationship with my father. This first one is called Stilled. Trying to get the light here. Age 3 in my father's house, mortar and brick number on Alden Road, wrong side of the social divide, Larchmont, New York. We received neither seconds at meals nor forgiveness at end of day. The former was taken, the latter ignored. You might as well have asked for it in a foreign language. Forgiveness has a vocabulary not spoken here. When Pop entered the room, wild-eyed, head-shaven, and blistering for a fight, Mom gave bedside counsel. Stay still. Pretend to sleep. He will leave eventually. That still thing saved me then, kills me now. I could see intimations of what was to come coloring Mom's eyes, blocking her iris, that contractile membrane suspended between cornea and lens, through which light enters, was a shunt. Not of Teflon, but something more complacent than that. Even the sun was reflected with false enthusiasm in my mother's eyes. Things you had to do to survive back then: lie, hide, never cry, be still. Anything else provoked Pop and gave him an opportunity to hand out wallops, as my grandfather Medrick used to call them. Since I have Mom's eyes, I was able to block some things out until now, age 50, swimming from under my father in the distended sea. Orange juice and milk. Born in April 1955, I was my parents' one and only junior through and through son. After my father had lunch at home 6 times, which was not his usual habit, between early 1956 and mid-1966, I became the oldest of 7 kids. When presented for high tea at the Plaza Hotel for my great aunts, Corinne and Rose, to behold, we wore matching sky blue outfits with rounded collars and were perfect for minutes at a time. Then we returned home to Pop, a product of Morris Park Avenue, a tough Irish neighborhood in the Bronx, where his father, the dead New York City cop, and mother, the widow O'Keefe, brought him and 3 older siblings into this world. Pop had a quaint 2-quart-a-day drinking habit that reeked from the basement on Alden Road to the community of saints Mom put her faith in daily. For breakfast, I preferred a large glass of orange juice and Rice Krispies with loads of milk. When the milk hit, cereal like fire crackling in a bowl. My father preferred Pall Mall Reds and Kamchatka vodka. When that hit, whoosh, bang, boom, Jesus, that's good. We referred to vodka as Daddy's juice because he had his, like us, at breakfast. And eventually, I began to pour large glasses of OJ into my bowl of cereal and milk. When Pop deigned to notice and mutter why, I replied, "It's all going to get mixed up anyway, Pop." Kids, my father would sigh, heading back to the basement to die, to die, die. Campaign plans. The night before Pop quit drinking for the final time, I was 11 years old. 2 guys from AA, Al D., the postman, and Ralph C., the local cop, came over, peeled Pop, the professor, off the ceramic tile on our bathroom floor and deposited him in the local loony bin, St. Vincent's Hospital for the Catholic and Insane. It was there that he celebrated his 35th birthday without the benefit of a doorknob on his side of the door. In that padded room, wearing straitjacketed and a confident smile, he announced to the world at large, which consisted of the black attendant Roscoe Lee and several other restrained individuals, that he was now 35 years old and eligible to run for the office of President of the United States. And why not, since he taught constitutional law at Fordham University, another fine Catholic institution. No one questioned his credentials, but the location of his announcement did cast a certain pall on the occasion. Roscoe Lee, not without knowledge of local and national politics, informed Pop it would be best not to make any campaign plans, as there were already 2 incumbents on the lockdown floor. I shall hold my candidacy in abeyance until I factor in your report, Roscoe. You won't be forgotten when I begin campaigning in earnest. Old Roscoe smiled and returned to his task, which was to mop the cheap linoleum floor and send waves of ammonia to be lost in the heavens. nursing him in the home by the sea. My father's tide is going out. Seeing his cognitive abilities in a puddle on the rocking chair porch, I am kicked in the head by time, jamming my neck in a whiplash of now. The future, an out-of-control 18-wheeler, drifts into my lane. Next thing I know, Pop is 77 years old and I am 50, which kind of sounds like 18 now, but I was 50 when I wrote this. My father has lung disease, neuritis, bursitis, arthritis of the spine, breathes through tubes in his nose, and is unstuck in time and space due to transient ischemic attacks, whatever the hell those are. To top that off, he has contracted gangrene, precipitating the hasty removal of his right leg. When I enter, he smiles and calls me by my childhood nickname, Ray Ray. My given name is Raymond, and this was like during the Kennedy era, so John Kennedy had John, so my father, Ray O'Keefe, had Ray. Hi, Pop, what do you know? Ray, why am I here? And while we're at it, where the hell am I anyway? They had to take off your leg, Pop. Everybody, he wants to know? No, the doctors. Oh. He pulls back the covers and checks to make sure I'm not mistaken. I'm going to need that back, aren't I? Well, they'll give you another one, Pop. It'll be fine. I lie. Why'd they take it again? Gangrene, Pop. You got it. Oh, yeah. What do you know about that? Not enough, I think. And we are mercifully silent. I stroke his forehead. He doesn't object if I'm affectionate. Conversation exhausted, I take his hand and we resort to that great American healer, TV. There's a black and white movie shining down on us now. Our suspended disbelief tells us we finally know who we are. We are watching TV. How about HUD, Pop? Melvin Douglas, guy's a genius. Yeah, it's classic. Martin Ritt directed this, I say. And Pop adds, that guy got blacklisted. He's a commie bastard. Jesus, I mutter, to no one in particular. Melvin Douglas, that tower of stoicism, so firm he can be leaned upon, enters my father's room. Actors of Douglas's level are not simply giving performances, they pervade the space where their films are screened, and then they invade the viewer. Their instrument is your body. On the way to the movies with his grandson, he takes Pop with him, and since the film is in Texas in 1962, there's a sing-along. Douglas is undaunted and loved in young Brandon DeWild's eyes. That's what grandsons are for. Unconditional lives. There's animation, a bouncing ball, and lyrics to the song. My father joins those folks in Texas singing My Darling Clementine. He's swaying in time to the music, lost in song in Melvin's embrace. Ray, he says. Yeah, Pop. I love that guy. Me too, Pop. Am I going to die? Oh, for sure, Pop. Just not yet. Back at the motel. A gang of 4 droopy-eyed, poker-playing dogs cast bored looks down on me from the faux-paneled walls. I can't get out from under the covers into the air-conditioned sea. I am bobbing up and down in an unmoored bed. Sounds of gulls and waves ricochet around the room. My father is just down the road, waiting to go on in the final scene of the drama he's been acting for 77 years. On a good day, before the onset of numerous diseases and an assortment of other ailments, a buffet of decay, before his mind went from exquisite machine of law to 6-year-old petulant boy with learning disabilities, I could stand to spend about 3 hours with him before wanting to throw myself into oncoming traffic. He put the fun in dysfunction. Now I can't leave his side, and I spend hours inventing dialogue to ground him in space and time. It's not that he forgets where he is. He doesn't understand where he is. John Donne was lying. My father is an island. Back in my untethered bed, I'm swallowing my tongue in an effort to digest everything I want to say before he dies. Dragging myself to my feet, I am up to my waist in goodbyes. Propelling myself toward the door, they spread and bounce against the walls. I leave my goodbyes behind. I have something to do. Seagulls call, waves break. My father is about to die. Swimming from under my father. There's an Arabic phrase that I use in this, which goes la ilaha illallah, which essentially means there's no God but God. A light fog has descended and my parents' home is shrouded in a mist. I suggest Pop might like a field trip. Great, Mom says. Get him out of my hair. Last night he woke me up 5 or 6 times to ask, what should I do now? I finally lost control and I said, go back to sleep, you big jerk. Which is the closest my mother has ever come to cursing. Pop, it's me and you, pal. We're going to go to the beach. Okay, Pop says. Let me ask you, the beach? What is that? The beach, Pop, where the ocean is. Oh, ocean? Okay, got it. Heavy doldrums of the day enfold us in the car. The light bounces off the slick, wet road. A path opens through the mist. The tires beneath us hiss. A mantra of bumps on the street thud below and hold us in our seats. Aside from his shopping list of diseases, here's what's killing him and me. No cognitive abilities, none. His dependence on others is exceeding my mother's grasp. Look, Pop, the ocean, I smile. What do you say? Let's get wet. Can we go in? He wants to know. Sure can. It's America, isn't it? Damn right. Let's do it. It takes me half an hour to get him from the car to the water. Hot, he says on the way there. Geez, it's hot. Actually, it's not hot. It's cool. And the fog is not lifted. Once you're in, you'll love it. Yeah, he agrees. Let me get in. Up to our chests, ripples extending away. My father and I float, mouth open at the water line. He draws the sea in, swallows some, sprays the rest in a salty arc through the air, spinning in a slow circle. He is a Sufi in the sea. La ilaha illallah. Ducking under the waves, I am an eel, clear about its journey. Intention shivers in me. I reach my father. His arms open in an embrace I refuse to receive. I pull him down. I hold him under, and I keep him there with me. There is no God but God. La ilaha illallah. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. That's so wonderful. And also, Michael has got some copies of his book with him. He'll be signing and selling those out there in the lobby afterwards. We have one more round. All the poets have one more poem, with the exception of Ted, who only has 2 half poems this evening. Unless you think you can come up with something to be in the 3rd round. Otherwise, it's okay. So this will be the final round. And first up, we're going backwards. Kitty Kiefer.
Nothing like following that. What I cannot see is actually the best stuff. What I can experience and discover in my heart or in my soul, all those things I cannot see. That is why I write. I write to remember the experience of what I cannot see and never saw. I write to describe in parable and simile what I cannot see and never saw. One of my first cousins is blind since birth. When Charlotte understands something, she says, "Oh, I see." That is the kind of seeing that I mean. When I describe it with images, sounds, colors, and the passage of time. Oh, I see. And thank you. Now I see what you saw. I cannot see everything, but I can describe what is there, or here, and unseen.
Hey, just kidding. Okay, scores. I have a 7. I have an 8. I have a second 8. I have a 9. And I have a third 8. Ted, you don't have a third poem, do you? Yay, that's it for Ted Phelps. That's it. That's it.
Global egg. It's not funny. Global egg. I can only participate. My fingers print on everything. No way I can remove the stain. I buy, I drive, I eat, and when I do, I whip and rape people I will never meet. A global egg so intricate, my finest moves are all a mistake. And I can only participate.
See? See? Judges? I have a 7 in the back, I have an 8, and another 7, and a third 7, and a second 8. Did you get that, John?
Yep.
Great. The steward. Come on, let's hear it from the steward.
A strong word in troubled times, a bully standing over these rhymes. He guides me, guards me, beats me so, and also there is new room to grow. A blink of an eye, a blast from the past, what's been birthed so soon won't last. A fear is a fear is a fear in an ear. He whispers gently, sweet nothings abound, a story's glory yet to be found. I stand on the precipice of something unique to tear the torture from the souls of the meek. The weakest of men I may well be. To a woman I love, I drop to a knee. She breaks me down in all the right ways, eliminating the filth and the craze. What comes around just might be, and when it does, I'm back on the knee. Going places, seedy faces, the mind erases that which cannot be. I pray and pray for a world of glee.
And we have 2 readers left. Oh, sorry, scores. Very good. Defeats the point if I forget that, right? A 7, an 8, another 7, and another 8. And Jedediah? I think you should have your son learn poems. Would love to have him here on stage doing the poem.
He's actually far more talented than I am. He was writing his first stuff at 2.5.
So great. Maybe next month he'll come back and read for us.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. He prefers to sing at this point, which will fly here. Anything goes, right? Okay. It feels like a lot to do in one night, like reading this.
We could take
metaphorical. I walked through the forest, winding my way towards an old pile of stones. I barely noticed the many thresholds of shadow and light I crossed. My mind is steeped in the history of the journey, in the many times I've walked this very path, the importance of so many of those steps and the company they kept. Twice I paused, thinking you were with me, just coming up to touch me from behind. This old pile of stones, one I spent years searching for. I remember the smell of the old cryptic books that sat peacefully waiting for me in forgotten corridors of old libraries, with only vague references and a few crude maps sketched centuries ago. I was drawn to find those stones. I hiked countless days and endless hours in random weaves and grid-like patterns, and when I found them, they had been so close all the while. Funny how the smell of old stones and old books is so similar, each held by their lichens and molds. So I sat there, alternating between thoughts of my history and those of the stones, and what might be myth or reality. How in so many ways one could really be the other. And then when I walked away, I tried to leave you there. To set you down, nestled amongst the rocks, alongside the many prayers I'd laid there, to put you in a place of honor, a place from my past, because stone holds history well, even if we don't. So I walked on, and it felt really hard. With tunneled vision, I watched one foot arrive in front of the other. I felt surrounded, yet unaware of what or where, noticing only how many stones I pass are glistening with sweat, like me. Remembering how we passed through here on our first date together, how would I feel when I come to the place we first kissed? Well, I never saw the place. Perhaps I walked right on by. Perhaps the fade of memory has begun, or maybe I did leave you on that pile of stones, relinquished to history as I walk on.
Thank you, Jedediah. Judges. Judges. I've got a 6, a 7, a second 7, an 8, and a third 7. Did you get all that, John?
I did, yeah.
Great. And our last slammer of the evening is Kristen Grippo.
When I was a god. When I was a god, I was purple and golden and shining. When I was a god, my butterfly, angel, fairy wings trailed behind me with rainbow plumes of light everywhere I flew. When I was a god, I wore feathers in my hair and bones and stones around my neck. When I was a god, my roaring laughter caused flowers to bloom and lovers to swoon, and just a glimpse of my smile was enough to obliterate the fiercest of demons. When I was a god, I knew all the secrets of the universe. When we were gods, we played with the stars like so many shiny baubles rolling off our skin, lingering on our eyelids, dissolving into blissful bursts of neon light. When we were gods, the magic and the mystery of the ancient ones was not just on the tips of our tongues, but at our disposal. When we were gods, we distilled our tears into elixirs that healed all the parts of us. When we were gods, we sang from our depths out into the darkness, shattering the illusion of separation, infusing the cosmos with the light of the eternal one. When we were gods, we did not have to choose love over fear because we are way over that whole fucking thing. When we were gods, we didn't worry about making the right choices or who to invite to dinner on a Thursday night or whether or not we are important or what our purpose was or how to control our chocolate addictions. When we were gods, we didn't worry. When we were gods, we loved our mother and felt her rhythms as the blood coursing through our veins, as the swaying of branches in a spring breeze, as the knowing in our bones that we are part of her. When we were gods, we held our children close, whispered magic words in their ears, just let themselves be in all their perfect beingness. When we were gods, we were fed by the crystal nectar of the moon, the fiery blaze of the sun, sustained by Vayu, the wind of life itself. When we were gods, we danced and sang and made love and wept tears of joy for our Creator and our miraculous selves. When we were gods, we didn't need words anymore. We spoke in hums and purrs and melodies, both ancient and yet to come. When we were gods, we bowed to the grace of goodness and light in our hearts. And when we prayed, whoa, miracles happened. When I was a god, I remember an age when things seemed limited and dark and contracted, and just thinking about it would cause my glorious self to expand even more. When I was a god, swirling and twirling in the heavens, ecstatic with bliss and love for all things, I knew for sure that there was no difference between me and God. When I was a god, I was purple and golden and shining.
That was great. Thank you. Judges, hold them high. Wow. Keep them up so I can see them, please. A 9, a 9, a 9, a 10, and a 9. That's the highest score had it on any of these 2 slams that I've done. John, do you need a few minutes? A couple of things. Next month will be also, I'm trying to figure this out, whether my calendar has been misprinted, because the 10th falls on the same day of the week 2 months in a row. Is that correct? It's because it's, February is a leap year, right? Yeah. So anyway, so it'll be so it was the 10th? No, that was the 13th. So it's next month is also the 10th. And that will be the next slam then. While John is doing the scores, someone asked me this evening if I would do this poem that I've done here twice before, and this is only the second time, so I don't know how I did it twice, but I'm sure I did. So if we have a couple of minutes, and those of you who have already heard this poem, just talk amongst yourselves. So, this poem is dedicated to the great American poet Michael Lally. It's called My Life as I Remember It. At 2 years old, I whistled at the mailman and set a pattern for years to come. At 4, I danced in the sunshine of our front yard, an interpretive dance to the gods. The neighbors swore I was retarded. At 6, I told my classmates I was from another galaxy, light years away. Mrs. Jackson, our first grade teacher, thought it necessary to alert my parents. By 10, Mr. Grady, the art teacher, was alarmed by the colors I chose to paint with, red, black, and purple. In junior high, I was considered weird and neat at the same time because I dressed funny and my parents had tattoos and Harleys. All written reports from the faculty stated, talks too much, daydreams. Some things never change. I watched the Beatles arrive in America and decided I wanted to go to England. I saw hair grow over ears and down over collars and onto shoulders and backs all over the country. I walked with the first protest march in Washington and every other for 10 years, and we still have crooks running the country. I've sat in streets, cafes, corner bars, and coffee houses and listened to the beat of a new generation being born. I went through puberty with Janice and Jimmy and took LSD when it wasn't cut with speed or poison. I smoked pot in 5th grade and laughed all day at a fat substitute teacher named Mrs. Potty. I dated black boys at 15 in an all-white Klan neighborhood. I hitchhiked to New York from Baltimore with 3 queens in hot pants, clogs with long bleached shags at 16 and blue truckers all up and down the turnpike. I've been addicted to LSD, PCP, speed, coke, pot, quaaludes, nicotine, sex, and the mysteries of the night all my life until I hit 28. Since then, it's only nightlife and sex. I've walked barefoot on 2,400-degree hot coals and not been burnt. Greta Garbo grabbed me from behind in traffic and saved my life. I've had green hair, blue hair, black hair, red hair, no hair, long hair, and all before 1973. I'm happy to still have hair. I've walked Sunset Boulevard, Polk Street, 42nd, Hollywood and Vine, Christopher Farallon Boulevard, Provincetown, Key West, Bombay, Miami Beach, London, Paris, Rome, Milan, Montreal, and every gay ghetto street listed in the book, and I'm still looking for the perfect lover. I lived as a woman for a solid year and had tits. Thank you. I've dated black men, white men, brown men, red men, yellow men, and several delicious women. I've been engaged, married, in love, divorced, separated, and brokenhearted. I've had syphilis, gonorrhea, Crab's scabies, hemorrhoids, hepatitis, appendicitis, dermatitis, and the flu at least 50 times, and I feel better now at 70 than I did at 25. I spent the last 11 years meditating, concentrating, applicating, educating, investigating, and instigating a higher ideal. I've been a born-again Christian, a crystal-holding New Age visualizationist, a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Christian Scientist, a Universalist, a bullshit artist, a seeker of truth, a charlatan, a holy roller, a shamanistic dancer, a guru, a disciple, and an enigma to my friends. I'm a triple Gemini natural blonde who loves God and takes time out to smell the roses. I've been around the block at least 10 times, and I'm ready to go again until these feet won't carry me anymore. I have always believed in the power of love, and that the groove lies somewhere between the heart and the genitals. I've never been deliberately cruel, and I've never hit anyone with my fist. I hope I never have to. I've been a whore, a saint, a sinner, a healer, a heathen, an actor, a poet, a drag queen, a straight man, a teenage zombie, a punk rocker, a greaser, a clone, a faggot, a streetwalker, a skywriter, a vegetarian, a teacher, a student, a wanderer, a caretaker, a wild thing, a father, a son, a yogi, and a fierce hairdresser. I've been lost, found, confused, absolved, punished, and rewarded. I've stared death in the face and wondered, why not me yet? I've talked and listened and heard and seen and been shown the way. I played follow the leader, pin the tail on the donkey, 5-card stud, and Russian roulette with a silver-handled 38. I lost $8,000 in cash gambling and $500 on a bet in less than a minute. I've seen the eye of God and been touched by her hand. I've seen miracles happen and been disappointed dozens of times. I've been almost everywhere, met almost everyone, seen almost everything, done almost all of it, and I'm still waiting to be discovered. The night has 1,000 eyes, and I'm a gypsy dancer who's still hungry for more. Thank you. Great, okay. Skywriter? Skywriter. What skywriting is? Like when you're laying on the beach and you're...
I just didn't picture you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so here's the scores. They're pretty impressive, I must say. There's a tie for third place. And that tie is between Kitty and the steward. So you can come up here and get your, yes? that to you.
Thank you very much.
And the first place winner this evening, winning a cash prize of, second, sorry. Oh, second, Ted Phelps. Let's hear it for Ted Phelps. For you. And I wasn't planning on a tie, so the winner is Kristen Grippo. That's for you. And when you come next month, I will bring you your special bag.
Okay.
Because I didn't think
Thank
you were
you.
going to tie. So let's hear it for Kristen again. Thank you. And congratulations to all the readers. And I want to thank Michael O'Keefe for coming so far. He drove here to be here with us this evening.